Go ahead.
Okay, Nicholas Jansen is the Rural Clean Energy Organizer at Groundwork Center for Resilient Communities, where he works to help strengthen rural communities and successfully expand clean energy infrastructure in ways that support farmers and other rural landowners. Nicholas grew up in rural Leslie, Michigan. His long history of committed action developed while at the University of Michigan, working on a bachelor's degree in environmental science with a specialization in freshwater ecosystems. He worked on a range of projects from studying quagga and zebra mussels in the Great Lakes for NOAA to organizing teams installing solar panels in low-income communities with the nonprofit Grid Alternatives and Solar Spring Break. In 2018, Nicholas joined the Sunrise Movement, first as regional lead in Lansing, then as Michigan State Director, and finally as regional organizer in Michigan and Ohio, working to advance grassroots support of the Green New Deal. Currently, Nicholas works with 3 Northern Michigan electrical co-ops to advocate for more rapid expansion of renewable energy generating capacity. He's also connecting with residents in counties where clean energy projects are being proposed, laying a base of factual information, countering misinformation, and illustrating the benefits of financial stability for farm families and bringing tax dollars home to improve community infrastructure. Nicholas is also a financial services advisor district leader with Primerica, helping working people in the nonprofit education and social services sectors become financially literate and better able to plan for their future. When he gets a break, Nicholas enjoys a good paddle and wandering in the woods with his fiancée and his dog. I think we all agree that his belief that, quote, one of the best ways to find joy and happiness is to build strong communities, and that requires bringing people together around ways we are similar, not dividing over ways we are different, end quote. So please welcome Nicholas Jansen, and let's listen to what he has to say about all that.
Wow. Hello, folks. That was a very kind intro, Carrie. Thank you for that. Feel a little flustered, to be honest. But also, yeah, it's such an honor to be here. Thanks, Sam, so much for your consistent communication. I I've been trying to get my feet back underneath me with this new year, as I know a lot of you are as well. So thank you, Sam, for your patience and help with this process as well. But yeah, great to meet a lot of you. I know I've met some of you through email, in person, and in passing, but just an honor to be here, especially like, yeah. I believe in being in community so much, and just being in the space this morning, seeing so many people here that are looking for ways to get involved and take concrete action is all we can do right now. And I've just been taking a lot of power and yeah, comfort in knowing that there's people out there like me wanting to fight for a better future, not led by that fear, but the belief and visions of what our communities and our families deserve. So I'm really excited to be here with y'all. Sam, am I able to share my screen? Can you make me co-host? Or I could send you my slides too.
Here, wait 1 second.
I'll try to keep this on the shorter end. The first part I'm going to share, I assume a lot of you are familiar with some of the state of clean energy, but I just want to reground in where we are as I then talk about some of the work we're doing with our rural electric cooperatives today. All right. Thank you, Sam. Okay. All right, so advancing clean energy in Northern Michigan. So again, some of you may have seen these charts, and I'm not going to spend too much time on them, but I just want to ground that clean energy just keeps on growing. As you can see, this chart starts in 2004, going through last year. And it's not a straight line, but you can see consistently it's going up. You can't really tell when there's a Republican as president, a Democrat, etc. These trends we're seeing, they're national, they're global, they are not dictated by any one administration. And while we do have significant hurdles, I just wanted to highlight that is on an upward trajectory. And what's also continuing with that trajectory is that we know that solar and battery components are just getting more and more affordable. Last year, they went 30 to 50% cheaper in 1 year. And there's just this chart kind of talking about that. And so the dollars are on our side, and they're only going to make literally more sense as we continue to develop our technology. And then in addition, this stat I really find cool. Last year, 96% of the new power plants that were created in the US were carbon free. That means they weren't coal, They weren't natural gas. They weren't oil. They were carbon-free energy generation. You see solar led that with batteries and wind. And I think that's important because there's few projects that are fossil fuel led even on the table right now because they don't make financial sense. I think back to the 2016-2020 administration of Trump when he tried to bring back coal, try to do all these things, but it didn't happen because the economics just weren't there. He couldn't do it. And that's where these economics for solar, batteries, and wind are with us now. It's just, even without subsidies, this is the most affordable energy that we have. And so yeah, as I've been saying, clean tech is more widespread than ever. The one thing I just want to highlight on this slide is renewables now outpace fossil electricity investment by 10 to 1. 10 to 1. That's just, yeah, you can't turn around those odds. This is happening. This is happening. And since 2016, we have 10 times more EVs on the road, nearly twice as many heat pumps. And since 2016, we have 100 times more battery storage. These are numbers that are not going to stop. You can slow them down, but they're not going to stop. And so in Michigan, we're really primed to continue to do stuff. We have over 127,000 jobs related to clean energy. We lead the Midwest in clean energy jobs and are in the top of the country for that. And especially when you look at IRA projects, we are literally #1 in the country for getting funds from the federal government to invest in our state. And I know there's lots going on federally about federal funding, but the part to highlight here is for every dollar the government spends on clean energy, 5 to 6 is spent by companies and businesses. And so there are so many projects that are moving forward even without federal subsidies. For example, the solar farm in Gaylord. I'm not going to dive into this too much because there was a lot of controversy there. But on the private portion in Gaylord, there was a 1,000-acre solar farm that was just approved this past Monday by the County Planning Commission there to let it go. That was the last hurdle. And so despite all the opposition, they voted 7 to 1. That commission, they heard the facts, they saw the data, and they're like, this solar project makes sense for our community. This makes sense for the landowner that's hosting it. It makes sense. And so again, there's hostility, as y'all know, all over about this project. But despite that, when we got down to the nuts and bolts, they couldn't turn it away because of the benefits it provided. And so this is our first big win of the year to have this approved and move forward. And it just goes to show that like the first energy project in Michigan in 2025 was not shut down. It was moved forward. And so even amidst all this chaos that feels overwhelming, we are still making progress. And don't need to dive into this, but there are the hurdles. I know you all know this. And we talked, I heard you all talking about this on the beginning of the call. There's lots of misinformation out there and trust, and people are tired. I know a lot of us, that's one reason why I'm so encouraged to see so many people on this call. It's because we all have to figure out how we can show up our best while also taking care of ourselves. But we're going to talk about how we can counteract that as well. So what can we do? As I mentioned, you can't stop a freight train. It can be slowed, but they are not going to stop this imminent clean energy transition, especially because all of you and others like you are not giving up. Most days I feel like I go through most of the stages of grief, but I feel like the most dominant feeling I feel in my body is angst and defiance. I am mad that they're trying to ruin my future. I am mad that these people are ignoring facts, science, numbers that will improve all of our lives, and I refuse to give up. There's some days I do, some days I sleep in more, but this is when I'm relying on folks like you and relying on my community to keep me going. The last thing I'll say about this, one person explained this kind of work to me. It's like a choir holding a long note. I've never been in a choir, but they told me like, if you have a note for like 30 seconds, you don't have every single singer going for 30 seconds. You have some of them take a deep breath, take a few seconds as the other people carry on so you can join when you're ready. And that's what we all need to do. Trust that others are going to carry it when they can and support ourselves when we need to. Because yeah, as y'all know, things are divided right now. But the last thing I would just want to communicate here is we just need to do more stuff in person and reach out to our neighbors. If people voted for Trump, we know there's a lot that are regretting that. We need to have a space that feels welcoming for them. They were lied to, they were deceived, X, Y, and Z. There's lots of reasons. You can feel angry at these folks. That is completely understandable. I do as well. But that's not going to move us forward. We need to have a welcoming space like, okay, if you don't like this now, come listen to us, come join us. There's room for you here too. This benefits you too. And so just finding those ways to connect and reach out to people is going to be instrumental in moving forward. And so now narrowing it down and to like what we're doing here groundwork is we're engaging with our rural electric cooperatives. And I'd be curious, if feel free to drop in a chat or feel free to come up. Yeah, feel free to just drop in the chat. If you're a member of a cooperative, I want to know. Are you a member of Cherryland, Great Lakes Energy, or another one? So if you're in there, I'm just curious. Phyllis and Cherryland, got another Cherryland. Perfect. Okay, yeah, I figured this is mostly a Cherryland group being in Leelanau. Cool. Well, that's great to see. And so we are excited to engage our rural electric cooperatives because we can make a huge difference on Northern Michigan's clean energy future by engaging with our cooperatives. And that's due to their democratic model. Every year, 2 to 4 seats of the board of directors are up for re-election, and they can be voted on by the members of the cooperative. Groundwork, we're a 501c3, but we're able to engage in these races because they're nonpartisan, non-governmental races. You don't have to declare a party, you're not affiliated. We can work on this because of the non-governmental part. So that's a pretty cool thing. Every year we have a chance to get clean energy advocates in those boards. And this is because these co-ops, they have really low member turnout, unfortunately. Less than 10% of co-op members nationwide participates in their elections. And we want to change that too. We want members to be involved in the cooperatives. That's why we have cooperatives, for the members to be engaged. And so this is just to show, though, with low engagement now, that means our actions and our intentions can have a larger impact. Yeah, and then again, while we know federal funds are kind of in some questions right now, a lot of those dollars are still flowing and a lot of that money is still happening. And we do have, especially like so many Republicans that are benefiting from these IRA dollars. So ultimately, we believe this money is going to continue to flow. And that leaves us with a once in a lifetime generation to update our infrastructure and get ready for the future to come. So here's a map of some of Michigan's cooperatives. Rough map, of course. Cherryland is right here. Leelanau, as you all know. We work on this one. This is the first election in the year. Great Lakes Energy is later in the summer. This 3 here, it's a really wonky area. It starts up in the tip of the mitt and goes all the way down Southwest Michigan. Their elections are in the summer, and then Presque Isle starts in the fall. Electric and gas, number 7 over here. These are the 3 ones we are engaging. We do ad hoc support of other ones as throughout the state as people reach out, but with capacity and time, these are the 3 ones we're trying to get more support in. And so just to give almost done here, a little bit of information about how the cooperatives work. And so there are 2 main cooperatives. There's what's called a GNT, or the Generation and Transmission Cooperative. That's Wolverine Power. Wolverine creates all the energy that Cherryland, Great Lakes Energy, Presque Isle, et cetera, use. So while we're getting members on these boards of Cherryland, Great Lakes Energy, and Presque Isle, they don't necessarily have decisions over what gets built, but they do have decisions over policy and how to distribute energy. But the cool part is, once you're on one of these boards, every year, those boards then vote on people to put on the Wolverine Power Board. So by getting members that are supporters of clean energy on these boards, we ultimately also build our support for Wolverine Power, and they can change the whole system. And that's pretty cool. We are planning to put like 5 to 6 new people on these boards throughout the year. And if we are able to do that, we already have 4 clean energy supporters throughout these boards that are really pushing it. They're getting on Wolverine Power's board as well. We just need to continue to support them so they can make the change we need. And this is where we're at. So Cherryland, and these races come in every 3 years. So the last time this race happened was in 2022. We had Melinda Lautner winning, an incumbent. She's been there forever with 2,100 votes. Dean Adams, he also won with 1,676 votes. And I want you all to see this. Vicky Olson, who I imagine some of you know very well, she ran last year as well, or in 2022, and she lost by 9 votes. 9 votes, people. We can make that difference. You can make that difference this year. We can get some clean energy supporters that can help flip the script. And then also we have Valerie Handy and Benzie. That's up for election this year. And so I just want to show again, out of 38,000 members that make up Cherryland, only 2,100 people voted. And the highest they had was in 2021, which was about 9.5% of all members. So out of 38,000 people, there's just barely over 2,000 votes for their leading candidate. And so this just goes to show there are so many more people out there that just need to be talked to, need to be informed that they can vote and that their voice matters. And so we really have a large pool of people that we can activate this year to get involved in this process. And I'm gonna stop there because is Brian on? Because Brian Fenlon, who we all know, we are going to be supporting to run for Cherryland's board of directors. Been talking with him since the end of last year. I was just casting a wide net, figuring out who's interested, who has experience. And I've just been so impressed with Brian, just from working on Betsy Kofia's campaign and hearing the great work he did there, to just be very concerned about his community. And frankly, one of the best things I love about him, he's like, I don't care what I have to do. I don't care what my role is. I'm going to get it done. And I feel like that's an attitude we all need to have, is like, we're not all going to be up in the front of the room speaking and leading. We all have a role to play, and we got to figure out how to plug in. And so I'm so grateful for Brian for taking the step to be willing to run this year. Brian, are you on? Do you have a time to say a
Yeah.
couple words?
I'm
Great.
I'm here if everyone can hear, if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the introduction, Nicholas. We've had a few conversations over the past month or more, and I was really truly kind of unaware at how vulnerable specifically Melinda Lautner's seat is, and was really kind of inspired to try to take, an opportunity to really increase involvement through, a campaign for the board. And I think that if we can, you know, put together a good model for, these types of campaigns, then the sky is the limit. The points that Nicholas made that I agree with, and frankly, you kind of have to agree with them because the evidence bears out in where private funding is going, and it's almost exclusively in renewable energy, and the potential for people to hold the status quo is getting it's getting hard to back up with evidence or with any kind of fiscal responsibility, because it winds up costing more, and we're seeing the costs start to really kind of dwarf what people expected in a short time. That technological improvements have really kind of raised the bar. And as someone who in my professional life, I work for a winery. I've been doing that for 8 years. And so there's an agricultural aspect to that, but there's also a substantial amount of energy being used. And when you look at some of uh, the more kind of dual purpose investments that are happening on farmland in Michigan, I mean, it's really impressive what we can do, and we've barely scratched the surface. So I think that really the goal and why I'm running, I suppose, is because I am plugged in. I was born and raised in this community. I went to school in this community. I work and live in this community. And to not act, I think, is irresponsible. My personal opinion, that the single most effective way that I can help improve people's lives is through policy. And this is one way, because of I ran for Leland Township trustee this past year. We got trounced pretty badly in that election, and I'm looking for any way that I can try to minimize the damage that's coming our way from the unfortunate reality of the results of the most recent election. So when Nicholas brought this to my attention, I really was reluctantly excited, if that makes sense. And I really welcome anyone's help in this endeavor. And so I'm putting my hat in the ring, and we'll be meeting next week to kind of go over some more details on what this campaign is going to look like.
Great. Thanks, Brian. And yeah, really excited to be here with you. And some great questions in the chat. I'll address these real quick. and then we can move on. But so the process is Cherryland, they had their nomination period in March, meaning throughout the month of March, Brian will be working to get 25 Cherryland members to sign his petition to nominate him to run for board of directors. We're going to get more than 25 just in case there's some faulty signatures in there. Don't want to come under. We know where we can blow that number out of the water. So that's one of the first things to be on the lookout. Come March, Brian's going to be reaching out to folks like, if you are a member of Cherryland and you have to be a member, that is key. Please sign the petition. And then voting starts in May and ends at their annual meeting in June. There are a few ways you can vote in Cherryland: by mail and in person. They are working on an online option. I can't remember if they worked out the bugs to get it up for this election yet. Following up on that, there may be an online option, but definitely, yeah, by mail and then in person at the annual meeting. And if you want to get involved, we need you. I'm going to drop my email in the chat. And if you can send me a message that you want to support this work, that would be incredible. Because the only way we are going to kick out Melinda Lautner, who's been there for over 40 years, is by grassroots or groundwork support. So it is going to be people like you that are in your community that are talking to your neighbors to make this happen. And there will be lots of different ways, from writing letters to the editors, to helping addressing envelopes, to door knocking, to phone calls, to fundraising, to whatever you need to run a campaign, we'll be needing support with. Yeah, and I'm excited to work with Brian hand in hand to make that happen, and whoever would like to join. So that's all I have. If there's time, I can answer a couple of questions. I'll let Sam dictate that, but I'm so grateful to be here. So excited to work with Brian, and yeah, just really vibing and loving the energy on this call, and makes me ready to kick out Melinda. So thanks, y'all.
I'm pretty sure we're going to help with full force with this. Whether or not we are Cherryland people, we will be delighted to help. So